Right now, as we speak, the U.S. Federal Reserve is making a massive, high-stakes bet on the economy. And it's a bet that's going to affect pretty much everyone. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what that bet is, the logic behind it, and maybe most importantly, what happens if they get it wrong.
So just for a second, imagine you're in charge. You've got two reports hitting your desk at the exact same time. The first one says prices are rising. That's inflation. The second one says companies are hiring less. The job market is getting weaker. What do? I mean, seriously, this isn't just some thought experiment. It's the exact real-world puzzle the Fed is trying to solve right now.
And this is the heart of the problem, right here. On one side, you've got the prices that businesses are paying for supplies, and they are shooting up. That's a huge red flag for inflation. But on the other side, you have employment indicators pointing straight down, a sign the economy is slowing. The real kicker? The textbook solution for one problem makes the other problem worse. They are polar opposites.
All of this puts the Fed in what you can only describe as a crazy, dangerous tightrope walk. One wrong step in either direction, and the whole thing comes crashing down. And believe me, there is no safety net.
And who's the acrobat on this tightrope? Well, it's the U.S. Federal Reserve, or as we all know it, the Fed. Their entire job is to steer the economy through exactly this kind of storm. But here's the irony. It's their own rulebook, their own mission, that's making this job so unbelievably difficult.
Yeah, this whole dilemma really comes from the Fed's core mission. It's what's known as a dual mandate, but right now, those two main goals are in a head-to-head conflict.
And here they are. First, keep prices stable. In plain English, that means keep inflation under control. Second, promote maximum employment. That means keep the job market as strong as possible. Now, usually in a nice, healthy economy, these two goals can kind of work together. But right now, oh man, they are pulling in completely opposite directions.
So this is their impossible choice. Let's say they cut interest rates. That might help the job market, which is good, but it could also pour gasoline on the fire of inflation. Okay, so what if they hold or even raise rates to fight inflation? Well, that might work, but it could also tip the economy into a recession and send unemployment soaring. You see the problem? There's just no clean win here.
So, faced with these pretty terrible options, it looks like the Fed is leaning towards one path, cutting rates. This is their big bet. And the billion-dollar question is, why? Why would they do that? Let's try and decode the logic behind what, on the surface, looks like a super risky move.
Okay, so their thinking seems to be built on four key pillars, four big assumptions. First, they're basically assuming this bout of inflation is temporary, that it's just a blip that's going to fade on its own. Second, they're betting that it won't kick off a dreaded wage price spiral. Third, they've clearly decided that the weakening job market is the bigger, more urgent threat to deal with right now. And finally, they're terrified of keeping policy too tight for too long and crushing the economy for no good reason.
This quote really just sums up their entire worldview. They believe this isn't real inflation, the kind driven by a red-hot economy. They see it as more of an external shock, something that will just pass through the system. And if you believe that, well, then it makes sense to focus on supporting jobs, because you think inflation isn't the long-term enemy.
But, and this is a huge but, what if that core assumption is wrong? What if this inflation isn't temporary? This is a massive gamble after all, and if this bet goes wrong, there are at least 5 major ways the economy could lose, and lose badly. So here's exactly what's at stake. 1. Inflation could come roaring back and get totally out of control. 2. That wage price spiral they're betting against, it could actually happen. 3. A weaker dollar could make everything we import more expensive. 4. All that easy money could inflate dangerous bubbles in the stock market or housing. And number 5, maybe the biggest risk of all, the Fed could lose its credibility. If that happens, they have to slam on the brakes even harder later on, which would cause absolute chaos. Any one of these is a disaster.
So that brings us to the final verdict. When you stack up the potential rewards of their bet against these enormous, economy-shaking risks, what does it all add up to? Ultimately, we end up right back where we started, on this tightrope. The Fed is stuck walking a razor's edge between the fire of inflation on one side and the abyss of a deep recession on the other. By leaning towards cutting rates, they've made their choice. They've decided that a recession and mass unemployment is the bigger, scarier monster to fight right now.
So the final question we're all left with is this. Is the Fed's decision a smart, calculated risk based on a really deep understanding of the economy? Or is it a reckless gamble that could seriously backfire and create an even bigger crisis down the road? Honestly, only time is going to tell. But one thing is for sure, the stakes could not be any higher.